Hi, my name is Charlotte Dismore. Welcome to my Petra Kucha reflection on HCDE 313, Intro to User Research. This was my very first experience with user research, and so at the start of the quarter I remember Sarah saying that user research is all about understanding the who, what, where, why, and how, and I was really excited about that. So for my focus, I really wanted to focus on the University of Washington. As a student here, this was kind of a space I felt very comfortable maybe looking into, and so I thought about some of the problems I had on campus and what I could explore in a design space. And so I thought about the hub. So the hub has a pretty main large seating area, and one thing that I had always noticed was that it was difficult finding seats, and so this is something I decided I wanted to explore, maybe see if other people had similar experiences, maybe to see if I was having my own unique experience, and just get a better understanding of. So to do this, we did a field study, an interview, and an online survey. And what I enjoyed about that was just seeing the process of how all these different things flowed right into the next one, and the data you learned from one really spoke to the future things that you would learn in the others. What I had always thought field research being before was just going into like maybe the forest and getting rained on for 3 days. And what I enjoyed about this was just being a normal student, going into the hub, blending in with my environment, and just being able to take notes on a laptop and not being noticed at all. What was difficult for me in my field study was just the fact that there was so much going on in the hub at all times that I felt like I was rushing to detail everything, to document all of the happenings, and I know that I did fail in documenting every little thing just because there was so much. So that was a limitation for me. But what I liked was that I got a whole bunch of results, and because it was field research, I didn't really know why people were doing things, but I got a lot of understanding of what exactly people were doing. And so I could take those results and kind of reshape them into questions for my future interview process, which is what I did. And so I chose to do a semi-structured interview just for the sake of having it maybe be more of a low-key environment. I didn't want to put pressure at all on my participants. I just wanted to make it feel like more of a conversation tone so that they would give more honest and less maybe thought out answers. Before I did this though, I needed to make sure that I got user consent. So I gave them just kind of a background on what I was doing, and I wanted to make sure that they would allow me to audio record their interviews, and all three of them did. So I was lucky to have that, but I wanted to make sure that they knew this was happening. One thing that I struggled on and will want to remember for future interviews is just to not be excited like a little puppy dog, be excited about my results to the point where I'm asking leading questions. The questions that I had were not leading, but in my responses and in asking follow-up questions, I began to see that they could be leading. The interviews really helped consolidate ideas, give more explanation to maybe phenomena that I'd seen in my field study, and it allowed me to maybe draft some more detailed and specific questions for my survey, which I was very thankful for. So I chose to do an online survey. I chose this medium because it would be easiest and accessible to people to do it on their own time, when they felt comfortable to do it. And I knew that a lot of my other students were doing online surveys as well, so that kind of gave me a good population. I really focused on my survey about finding and making sure that users knew exactly who, or participants knew exactly who I was looking for. So I wanted only students from the University of Washington who had been to the hub and used it, because I wanted to get information from people who actually had experience there. What I learned from my survey was that in formulating questions, you really have to have a plan for analysis. To achieve your goal in the end and not end up with a whole bunch of kind of vague, meaningless data, you want to really plan out in what ways you're going to analyze your questions, how they're going to relate to each other. in the end, I really enjoyed putting all this together in a final research paper. All of my data fit very well together. It built upon each other, corroborated things that I'd learned before, and I was very thankful and appreciative for the help and guidance that I got in doing that. One thing that I found was the biggest problem, addressing the problem of crowding in the hub and not being able to find seats, is that one person in their studies unintentionally would just take up a whole big table, and that it would leave a whole bunch of other people just looking for empty tables, but not really empty seats. And so my solution to that was just consolidate all the people into small tables that were looking for individual seatings, which would leave the bigger tables to the groups who were really trying to find group seating. And so getting all the people, the individuals in one area, maybe left more room for other places. Another thing that I found is that technology was really important in the hub. And so I wanted to implement a charging station so that people who were looking for outlets and couldn't find outlets, which is something I learned in my research, could have an obvious point where they could go. They knew where it was, they didn't have to search, and it was great. So really, I learned in this project and in this class how research really leads to design, and good design has a good foundation on research. I wouldn't have been able to really comprehend how much design information you can get from doing research if I hadn't taken this class. Lastly, I would just really like to say thank you to Sarah and to Jen and my TAs and even my other students.